with me having to relearn, reprocess, rethink what sex was, that was like taking a part of my identity away.
Just because you may need to seek help or you may be in transition and things may not be right, it doesn't necessarily mean that your marriage is bad.
Marriage is a roller coaster ride that never ends.
From the twists of having children, to the turns of overly involved parents, or the highs of buying a new home, to the lows of unexpected lifestyle changes.
Marriage is dope, but let's be honest, fam. Marriage really be tiring.
Welcome to the Left Hand Gang podcast, hosted by Jazz and Spoon.
Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome to the Left Hand Gang podcast. Hope y'all doing good out there. You good, baby?
I'm good, baby.
How you living in these streets?
I'm tired, but I hear that's the new normal in mom life.
Yeah, you're sure right, man. I think it's kind of sort of getting better for us.
It is for sure getting better, yes.
Yeah, because we a little over 3 months in now.
Yeah.
Man, this time is flying like crazy. Speaking of which, we're going to dive right into what we got to get into today. What we talking about, baby?
What are we talking about?
I don't know. What was that topic?
She says I have a God.
Oh, yeah. So, we're going to talk about really cycles, transitions, and, just us trying to really live through this new normal, because this baby life, this dad life, and mommy life, and still trying to have a husband and wife life is crazy out here in these streets. So one time for all the parents out there, man.
No, for real.
Man.
Big ups.
Big ups to all the parents. Like this dude right here, man, he wanted to join us today. So
yeah, he didn't want to stay in his crib and take his nap. He wanted to be here, so
so he here with us. But this dude right here, man, he's had, I know me for sure, I've been reflecting a lot on parenthood, and I be like apologizing to my parents in my head by myself whenever I think about him, because I'm like, yo, I used to do that. I used to be like him. I used to be a baby. So, man, one time for the parents, man. One time for the parents. So Jazz, what's been new with this? What have we been doing?
Well, a big part of life for us has been parenting.
Yep.
And just the new revelation that we've gotten in this new time that we're in. So, I would say our marriage now is completely different than it was before Kai.
Facts.
Like, completely different. And initially, it felt like a bad thing to me. Like, it felt like, well, we're not doing something right. Like, we off. Dang, things just ain't right. Yeah. I'm tired. We're not teaming the way we need to team. This marriage is not marriaging. Like, it just feels like we're just missing one another. Physically, spiritually, mentally. And we recently went to that conference that one community put on. And
it was a dope conference too.
Man, their couples conference every year is dope. It was really, really helpful. And it just reminded me that it's not bad. It's just transition. And I don't think that we really talk about transition in marriage. Like, I feel like I hear, that as a person, you're going to change over time.
Right.
But they don't talk about how your marriage is actually going to change over time. And it's not like, oh, it's the same all the way while you're young, and then when you get old, it's different. Like, that's what I thought. I didn't think about, like, the ups and downs in between. And that's where we are.
No,
right now.
Seriously, though. And, like, anyways, I could go deep into a whole entire rabbit hole. But another thing, that's helped us kind of recognize the changes and the transitions that we've been dealing with. We actually have a marriage coach or marriage coaches. Yeah. And which has been dope to have. Them. So shout out to Kimberly and Jenna over at Aspen House Associates, man. They're dope. And so we've been in this marriage coaching class, and really it's a cohort, and we're teaming up. We're teamed up with a couple of other couples. I think it's three other couples. And man, it's been really, really dope to really work together as a unit and hear the different sides of marriages and what goes on and how other people do things. And then Jenna and Kimberly, they come in and boom, they drop the hammer on us and give us some tools and some resources.
Yeah.
And had you thought about it this way? And instead of being quick to do this, how about you think to do this first? And it's been pretty dope in that. And so how have you been feeling about marriage coaching?
I just want to say Aspen House is a God gift. They came to us, I feel, or I won't say they came to us, but the opportunity to be a part of the program couldn't have been at a better time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
at first I thought, this is horrible timing. The program's going to start, and then we're about to have Kai like a couple weeks before, but that's because I didn't understand transition in marriage. And I thought like, oh, I'm pushing this baby out. We're just going to be tired, but we finna team together. We got this, we know what we're doing. And yeah. Aspen House is really dope. And the program is dope because for once you get perspective from someone that's not already in your marriage that's not always around your marriage. I feel that a lot of times we seek counsel from people around us that know us, that know our union, that know us as individuals maybe. And with Jenna and Kimberly, they didn't.
Yeah.
And they're getting to know us in this program. And because of that, they can see the things that we don't see. And so it's been really cool. They offer all kinds of services also. They're located in Richardson, I believe, right now. They have one location, is that right?
Yeah.
And they offer therapy not just for married couples but for individuals as well. So I think they have been a great resource for us in our marriage.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah, most definitely. And so also I really want to highlight this too. We didn't come into this program because our marriage was struggling. It was more so as gaining more tools and resources on how we can be better.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people seek counseling or therapy out of lack, out of scarcity, out of fear of this is like our last resort.
Yeah.
But this was really put in our hearts to really strengthen us. We felt we believe that we're pretty good. We work together as a team. We communicate pretty well, but we could always do better. We could always be better. And so we sought this out as an opportunity to really just strengthen our marriage in this new phase. Not because, we felt like we was finna, divorce or something. So I really wanted to put that stamp of approval out there too.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to seek help as a last resort, We don't need to really be seeking help whenever we're like, we put all of our cards on the table and it's like, all right, it's our last shot, bro.
This it.
This it. If this don't work, then we out of there. But we just wanted to become stronger as a unit. And man, I thank God for this God-given opportunity and whatnot. And so it's been very beneficial to have them during this time of transition. I mean, with Kai coming and Jazz retiring from teaching. Yes, Lord.
Yes.
Man, the hardest job in the world is being the spouse to an educator. I'm just gonna put it out there. Being the spouse to an educator, oh my God, it's hard. But we thank God that Jazz is finally, she's made that transition and she's retired from teaching and she's seeking new things along with her. And we got baby Kai here. Things in my life have changed with me taking on more roles with ministry, and school, and trying to get this doctorate degree done. Y'all keep your boy lifted in prayer. I'm trying to get that thing done. So we just got a lot
of things
lot
on
of
the table,
things.
or as you would say, a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, we got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and we trying to do something.
Baby, you said something about like counseling shouldn't be our last resort.
Yeah.
Or coaching either shouldn't be our last resort, and it made me think about contentment and how it's kind of taking me back to, I don't remember which pastor it was. I think it was Pastor Robert. Is his last name White?
Yeah.
I think he was talking about how there's no such thing as a perfect marriage.
Right.
And I needed to hear that. And I don't know who needs to hear that out there too. But there is a such thing as a healthy marriage, and that is attainable. And so sometimes we get confused with happiness and perfection, and we equate those things, and we think that contentment is bad or a negative thing, and we don't emphasize healthiness. And so I think, it reminds me of Paul in Philippians. He talked about, in all things I've learned to be content.
Yep.
And I think we sometimes forget that, and that's important because, when I'm going through, like even as an individual, putting my marriage aside, I'm not super excited. I don't feel like my life is perfect, but I learned to be content.
Yeah.
And so why can't I do the same thing in my marriage? And so just because you may need to seek help, or you may be in transition and things may not be right, that doesn't necessarily mean that your marriage is bad. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're unhappy even. It's just transition. It could just be that you need to remember contentment.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to remember this is normal, and I just need to remember that my marriage is healthy.
Man, you just dropped that on us.
While I was waiting on you to finish, it would have connected to what you was talking about.
Oh, I ain't know. You should have just cut me off. You should just cut me off. But no, that's so true, because we don't know how to be content, because a lot of times we're also just looking forward.
Yeah.
We're always looking too forward at something, and we don't get the opportunity to, just enjoy or be content with what is right now. And that's so true. And we also have an eye for critiquing. We want to critique things. We can be better at this, and we should be better at that, or we can blah blah blah. And so we come at, a lot of times in our marriages from the perspective of we could do better at this, rather than how about we just celebrate what is good, celebrate what we already are doing. And in your marriages, in our marriages, and anyways, but transitions. How have you been feeling about this transition?
Now, no, I'm just saying,
or even during.
I think that the transition really started for me during. How does my mic keep falling?
I don't know.
It's like,
yeah,
like when we're not looking, it just slides down. Oh gosh. The transition for me really started during postpartum, and that's a whole episode, a whole sermon. It's a whole situation on its own. All the mamas out there, all the daddies out there, y'all know. This was our first baby, and it just, there's only so much you can do to prepare for postpartum, right? But if you are a first-time mom, there's a lot that you go through that you don't know. And as your husband, he don't know either. Nah. So y'all just not knowing, and y'all working it out because y'all got a little person that's dependent on you. And so that's when it really started for me, because I was changing and the things I needed from my husband were changing, and I didn't know how to articulate what I needed from him. I didn't know how to articulate what I needed for myself. I didn't know how to articulate how I was feeling either. And I think that in that I was feeling that way, but my husband was also feeling that way. There were things that he needed. There were things that changed for him as well. And neither of us were really communicating about that because we really didn't know how. And I feel like we've just kind of been in a cloud, just being honest. Like,
Yeah.
it's been a little cloud, you
been
know.
real
Jesus
foggy.
been there, you know. I felt him.
Right.
He in there with us, but it's been really hard, and people don't talk about that. They do not talk about like okay, this is what happens, baby. You be like, oh, such and such is pregnant, and then you see the cute baby picture of the
Yeah.
baby swaddled in the hospital, and then you might see a picture of like mom and baby, like, you know, and they're about to go home, and then you don't hear from
You
them.
don't hear nothing.
And then it's like this random picture. If they don't do newborn photos, then it's like a random picture or a story or something that you get that they took at the house or something, or at grandma's house. But like, they go off the grid. And let's talk about off the grid. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot that's happening when you off the grid, and nobody's telling you how to get through that. And like I said, you know, our marriage coaching program started like right a few weeks after Kai, like almost exactly a month.
Yeah.
And we thankfully had other couples who, have had children. So they kind of gave us some advice. But really, in that time, we've been able to like see the things that we couldn't articulate through our coaches, and that's really helping me to kind of move forward. Like, seeing getting the encouragement from other mothers has helped me. My friends that are also moms, the coaches, my husband, and those gave me tools that I needed. And so now I feel like I know how to pray. I know that I'm not alone and I'm not crazy. Also, it does help a little bit that somebody's sleeping a little bit longer at night, so I'm not as sleep deprived, and we feel like humans again and not zombies. And so now I would say that the transition it's more like a hopeful side of it. Like, I don't feel like I'm in a fog anymore. I feel like I'm encouraged, and I have the tools that I need to keep going and to get better.
Yeah, well, in the transition for me, I mean, in a way, it was very similar, but it also amplified my personality. I really got to see some of the things that I do, or my personality really just be amplified. Like anybody that knows me knows that I love people, and knows that I like serving people. I do stuff for people. I'm always, present. And that's not me bragging, but that's just, my personality. I literally have a servant's heart. And so as my wife is going through pregnancy and her body's changing, and the school year is going, and she's trying to figure out, how in God's name am I finna get to the end of the school year? And I'm tired. These kids getting on my nerves. Administration getting on my nerves. Kids getting on my nerves.
Don't ask me for nothing else.
So many things. Just so many things are happening, all while, she's exhausted. And I mean, I'm tired too, but it's in my heart to take care of my house, take care of my wife and my son, my unborn son at the time. And so, I found myself picking up a lot of the slack in the house because she was tired. I mean, if she's tired, she's been in school all day, working this and the third. It's nothing for me to go in the kitchen and cook or pick up something. Have certain things, have the house clean, whatever, all while trying to still do my thing with school and work and DJing weddings. I mean, me and Daniel, we were doing the podcast with Spoon and Renty. So there were a lot of things that I still had going on, but I still want to take care of my wife. Mm-hmm. And so Kai gets here. Nothing really for me changes. Other than now, not only am I taking care of Jazz, but now I'm also trying to figure out how to take care of Kai. I don't know this dude. I just met him. I don't know how this baby stuff works. He's my first son, so I'm trying to learn him and take care of him too. And so, in all of that transition, I found myself doing a lot and taking care of the family and taking care of the house and this, that, and the third. And then I realized through our coaches, that me stepping up to take care of a lot of things, although they were good, although they were helpful, they kind of enabled Jazz in a few ways, and enabled her to not do anything, or enabled her to not really want to step up and, take initiative rather in certain things. And so, how about you share your side of that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you took it back to pregnancy, because you're right. The transition did start as soon as we found out we were pregnant. Things
Yep.
really changed in our household. So I think you did a really good job of touching on that. And just to, kind of add to that, I believe that it really did start at pregnancy, because I noticed that, like, I literally had no strength. Like, I had nothing, and I didn't have a care. Like, I didn't care that nobody ate in the house. That's not my fault. I'm growing a human. I'm doing the best that I can by standing here, right? Water's making me throw up, so I could care less about anything that anybody wants from me. So that was my mentality, and my husband saw that, and he stepped up. Like, dishes were done, not by Jasmine, but dishes were done, and dinner was cooked, and decisions were made, and he had to do a lot more. Like, he was already doing those things, right? Like, we kind of like shared, cooking and, cleaning and stuff like that. But when I got pregnant, it was like we scooted it all over to his plate without even realizing that it happened.
Yeah.
I was appreciative, but like, I didn't realize how much was actually on his plate. And so then, baby comes, and still, I have nothing to give. I'm giving all I have to this little human that moved into my house. This new broke roommate is asking for a lot, and he ain't contributing nothing but love. Okay, so again, my husband is taking everything off of my plate, and he's doing a lot, but it still felt like he wasn't doing what I needed him to. Like, it was weird. Like, he was like doing a lot, but I need you to do this. Like, I need you to wash a load of laundry, or I need you to hold him so that I can go to another room in this house and not hear him and not see him. I need you to feed him so that I can sleep, or like, it was just like things that I just didn't articulate. And I felt like he should know, because I expected him to read my mind and just know, like, because we've all raised babies before, and so he should just know what I need. And that didn't work out very well. And in our marriage, we discovered here recently that I have always been the, like, sit back, you got it. If you need me, tag me in, coach, I'm here. But like, if you're already leading and you've got it, then I'm going to let you lead. I'm not going to, counteract that. Also, I'm very indecisive. And so when it came to making decisions, he can make decisions a lot faster. So it was just like, okay, you decide. And before we realized it, he was doing everything and like running everything. And I was just kind of like somehow just falling further and further behind. And he's carrying all this stuff, but he hasn't articulated, like, yo, this is heavy. Like, and meanwhile, I'm like, life is blissful and it's so nice here and it's easy. And that was stressing my husband out, and he didn't realize it and I didn't realize it. And then I would say that I didn't realize how much he really was doing, and I didn't realize the way that he enabled me to continuously stay where I was. I feel like I got complacent and I got very comfortable with where I was, and him coming in to rescue and him coming in to save, that we didn't realize that it was happening. And like, we had this cycle going, like, he was feeding into me, I was feeding into him. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Or, can you help? Or, I ask a question, and maybe I was genuinely asking, like, hey, do you know blah, blah, blah? And then he'd be like, yeah. And then I got it. And he'll just do it. So I'm like, okay, cool. But I really could have done it. I didn't mind doing it. It was just that he just came in and did it. Right. And so now, again, another thing that he has come in to do, and another thing that I have passed off, and I'm just sitting back with my feet up again. And that has been eye-opening for us tremendously.
Yeah, big. And so it's funny how, I didn't realize that I in a sense, I guess in a reverse kind of way, that I kind of sort of had a God complex, because that cycle made me feel like, well, it's not going to get done unless I do it. It's not going to get done right unless I do it. Because if I let her do it, she's going to be indecisive. She's going to come back and ask me what I think anyway. So I may as well go ahead and do it. I may as well go ahead and take this task or blah, blah, blah. Because my biggest thing is, and this is not just in my marriage, but in relationships, with friends, work, church, anybody. I'm the guy who likes to remove barriers. So that way there's no excuse that, things don't get done, things can't be accomplished. And I am a man of efficiency. I love for things to be efficient, because the number one thing in this world that I hate is double work. I cannot stand double work. I hate it with a passion. I hate it with a passion. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. Anyways, so me having that type of mindset, in a way, it kind of forced me and made me feel like I had to do this. I had to take care of the house. I had to do this. Because if I don't, then my wife is going to be stressed out. And I can't stand my wife being upset, bothered, stressed, blah, 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 especially if I can control it. If I can contribute to it, then I'm going to do everything that I can to remove the barrier, whatever it is. And so that fed into my servant's heart. It fed into her feeling like, well, I don't have to do it because he's going to do it. And so now in me stepping in, I've taken away opportunities for her to thrive. I've taken away opportunities for her to step up and build confidence, because that's a challenge, that she also has dealt with, is trying to build her confidence. Well, you can't build confidence if someone's always doing the things for you.
Yeah. As you were talking, I realized I never said that. That I realized, or we realized, that there were some insecurities that were rooted from my childhood that really just played a part in our marriage, that it was just like right under the surface. Like you couldn't even see that, I have this fear of making mistakes. Like I want to get it right, and I have to get it right. I know that I'm not perfect. I don't feel like I am, but I will hold out on making the decision. I will let somebody else make the decision, because then I don't make a mistake and I don't get it wrong. Because then the self-confidence, the low self-confidence, comes in, where it's like, well, I don't think that I think you have a better chance at making a good decision than I do. So I'm going to let you do it. And I also realized that, in me not being able to make mistakes, I'm never gonna grow. And that's just like something that I can say that I'm working on now. Like that's something that we realized through our marriage coaching program. And it's hard to say, friends, but I am allowing myself to make mistakes. And it's really hard. But it's really dope too, because I see my husband trying, and he's like, you can do it. Like, you got it. Or, he won't say anything at all, so that I can like go through my process to like get to where I need to get
it's
to.
So hard, John.
And we're both like
so
cringing.
hard.
I'm cringing because I don't want to mess up. And he's cringing because he's like, I want to help you. And my husband is really, like you said, he's really efficient, and he's really dope. Like, I mean, that's why I married him. He's good at making decisions. He's good at leading. Those are gifts, and those are strengths, things that are easy for him. And because of that, that's another reason why I don't want to mess up, because I want to do it just like him. And I want, I want him to be proud. I want it to be the way that he would do it, because I know that's what he wants. And we are different. And he has to accept that the way that I process things is different from him, and that's okay. And I have to understand that the way that I process things is different from him, and that's okay. And that's where we are right now, is almost kind of like re-identifying ourselves in a sense, our individual selves, and which will ultimately reshape our marriage. But I think right now we're really, and we get to cheer each other on along the way. So that's pretty cool, that we can hold each other accountable.
And I like what you said because, like, I'm a very, very, very supportive individual. Like, if you send me your YouTube channel right now, I'm gonna follow it and all of your pages. I'm like
Yep.
that. I'm that person. I am, and I take like invitations and things like that very seriously because you ain't have to invite me. But since you took it, upon yourself to send me a message, blah blah, blah, I'm gonna respond. I'm going because I think that things, this is just a spoonism, but I think that things like that deserve a response and all that. So I'm a very, very supportive person. And so, like, with Jazz in this new space that we're in, and she decides to take initiative of something or she begins to make decisions, I'm going to fan the flame. And so we then have an opportunity to, in a sense, kind of recreate or create a new cycle where things are more positive, where things work out. So, instead of her, even though she, compares herself to how I would do things, me seeing her do it her way, I'm going to support her doing it her way because I know she's going to be confident behind it. I know she's going to be more comfortable behind it. And I want to be a part of the fan base that's, really cheering you on while you do it the way that is more comfortable for you. And that's anything, be it handling the finances, be it how we handle Kai, when it comes to sex, because that's one too that we got to talk about. But anything, you're not in competition with your spouse, but you are supposed to be supportive of your spouse and how they do things and, walking with them. Yeah, your idea may be better, but allow them the opportunity to walk through it themselves and you just kind of coach them through it. Or you just be there because sometimes people don't need a response from you. They just need you to be present. And so we have, we've been in this new space where we're learning how to be present, and I'm really present with each other, and I'm learning to ask the question instead of me stepping in and saving or just doing it because so we can get done faster and move on to the next thing. I'm more concerned about, okay, so what do you need me to do in this situation? What kind of response are you looking for? Because a lot of times we can give something that they didn't ask for. And on the other side of that, it's the other person's opportunity, or it's their can't find the word.
Job?
Yeah, there you go. It's their job to articulate, this is what I need, not sitting back and waiting for you to read their mind, for them to read your mind.
We're really guilty of that.
Oh, big time.
Especially the further you get in marriage. Because you feel like, you should know me.
You should know me. Yep.
And that, I think that's so false.
Yeah, big time.
Just because I know you, that doesn't mean I know what you feel and what you need right now in this moment. And it's not fair for us to hold the other person accountable to that because you can't read their mind. You don't know what they need.
Yep.
And I think it takes way more strength to say, this is what I need right now, or this is how I'm feeling right now, than it does to sit back and just expect the other person to figure it out.
And I think we do that because we don't want to voice how we feel because it makes us feel even more inferior.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's two sides. I think it's that, and I think it's also that sometimes we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, during postpartum, I felt things and I needed things from you, but I didn't know how to tell you. Like, I didn't have words to say, this is how I feel or this is what I want. I wanted you to know, and, like, I wanted you to understand, but I just didn't know how to get it out.
Yeah, that's good. Because you're right. A lot of times we don't have the language for the feelings that we feel. We don't. And I thank, Jenna and Kimberly for giving us some new words.
Yeah.
Giving us some new words. And I mean, just imagine how much better off marriages, would be if they just had the right words, to match or to articulate how we feel. Sometimes it may not be the right perfect word or whatever, but you trying, at least trying to articulate it. And yelling is not articulating how you feel. It's just articulating something else.
And also, it may not always be the right time.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes it makes me think about, like, back in middle school when you want to break up with somebody and you're trying to wait because you want to do it face to face instead of like on the phone.
Yeah.
And you waiting for the right time. Dang, your hand heavy. Tell Daddy, like, stop with your heavy hands.
Yeah. Right.
And it makes me think about that, and that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Like, our marriages are not like movies. We are not perfect people. We are not expected to, have this ideal time and carved out moment that's so special and we have the words to articulate.
Yep.
Like, it's literally after I have composed what it is that I want to say, no matter what he's doing, if, like, obviously if there's no company or anything like that, like, he could be in a different room, or if he's DJing, maybe I wait until after he's DJing, but, like, I'm just going to come and tell you, like, hey, when you said blah, blah, blah earlier, it made me feel like this, and I would have appreciated if you had done da, 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 da. And no, that wasn't a great, like, we didn't sit down and hold hands and say, like, I need to talk later on. Don't do that. Like, that for me stresses me out. Like, don't tell me, like, we need to have a talk later. Like, because all day I'm like, wait, what'd I do?
It's
like,
not really realistic.
It's not. And I think the other person, and this is something you just have to work on in your marriages, being prepared to receive that.
Yep.
Because he comes to me sometimes and does the same thing, and only now am I able to step back and say, you know what, I apologize, I didn't realize that, or okay, I will think about that, or I will do better. Like, I have to be able to receive what he's saying at any time, just like he does too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, like, that was one thing that I battled with a lot, because I was basically fragilizing my wife by not saying anything, because I felt like if I said it, it would mess up the rest of the day, and 100 times out of 100 it would. I would feel like I would hurt her feelings, or she wouldn't want to talk to me, or blah blah blah, and it would kill her confidence, whatever it was. But I didn't take the time to think about what that did to me, and me trying to save her from what I had to say to her. Because then if I'm not able to get those things off my chest or articulate them to her, then I don't give her a chance to work on those things. I don't give her a chance to build her confidence. I don't even give her a chance to let her even know, because a lot of things she didn't even know that she was doing. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, to me, I'm harboring feelings, I'm harboring emotions, and I'm not seeing changes that I would like to see in my marriage. And so now I've grown resentment, and now I've closed myself off, and I don't want to talk to her anymore about feelings or emotions, because I already have it made up in my mind how they were going to go. And so, that was a huge hurdle, that we, had to get over in this time of transition with having Kai, especially because with her having him and postpartum, and man, that's a scary deal. But I was afraid to say things, because postpartum jazz is a completely different jazz. Like that person had a lot of internal conversations, a lot of internal things changing, a lot of external things changing. I mean, chemical stuff. I mean, really, really just a very complex situation. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I should say something. I think I may want to wait, or blah, blah, blah. But in the right time, not the perfect time, but the right time.
Right.
When the right time came, then I was able to articulate those things, because, I was going through some things as well. I mean, I was going through my postpartum. my postpartum situation also while she's going through hers. But all of that to say though, throughout these transitions and cycles of me feeding into her and her feeding into me, hey, I'm gonna come help you. Okay, thank you for helping me. I'm not gonna do anything. Oh, you're not gonna do anything. You don't feel good. Okay, I'm gonna come help you again. Like in all of that, in the rediscovery, of our new selves, oftentimes what we kind of fall into is, once we kind of sort of get into a rhythm, is trying to get that old thing back. We're trying to get back to how things used to be.
Yes.
It's kind of like us in the pandemic, how we want to get back to normal. That normal is gone, bro. The world has moved on. We're in a different place, in a different space, and so we've learned to adapt in a new way, based off of what the way that the world is now. And so it's the same thing in our marriages. After you have big changes, you have a kid, you move into a house, or you lose a loved one, or whatever, you change and you transition due to these big events that happen. And so if you're trying to reach back and become or be what you used to be, man, you wasting time, because your marriage will never be the same again.
Never. And that's not a bad thing.
Exactly. And why not?
Because we're constantly changing and we're constantly growing, and our life, like, think about your life. Like, your life is never the same.
Right.
You can't go back to your 20s. And you can't, you can't go back to things that you used to. And so your marriage shouldn't either. It should always continue to grow. Now, there are pieces I think that you can take from from different seasons, but ultimately going back, I don't know, there's something in that. If you are thinking, okay, well, I want to get back to that happiness, redefine it here and now, because the way that you're going to get it now isn't even going to look like the way you got it then. Because when I think about us, it was like, when Kai came, and during postpartum, don't judge me if you want to, or judge your mama, I don't care. But I was like, I love my son so much, but like, I miss my marriage how it used to be. And I said that out loud. I miss what my life was before I was sleep deprived and needed all the time. I miss my husband that I used to know. And I'm never going to get that back the same way, because I have a child now. But I can still get happiness. I can still have a prosperous marriage. I can still love my husband the way that I loved him back then, if not even more, now that he is my baby daddy. Hey. It just looks different the way that it has to be achieved. And so I just encourage people to identify, why is the season a rough patch? What is this right now? Because it could just be transition. And that's what we just discovered.
Yeah.
And so if you're in transition, then it's like, okay, well, what are the things that have changed, and where can I smooth out? Where can I adjust? Because we have to adjust somehow. We have to adapt. I felt like, our marriage, we had some things that changed and we learned things along the way. We had some bumps, but it just seemed like it was pretty smooth, like we were just going for a while. And then literally, that's literally what happened. And so instead of staying there on the side of the road at that car wreck, let's put the car back together. Let's, assess the damages. Let's see, okay, what needs to be fixed with you? What needs to be fixed with me? Like, what can we do right here on the scene so that we can keep going? Because the car is only totaled if you think it's totaled.
Man.
Your marriage is not, it's not supposed to have a dead end. It's not supposed to, be this thing that like, oh, well, we just became unhappy and it just, we couldn't figure it out. You have to figure it out because you're under covenant. And so, I hope that someone's encouraged, because transition for us felt like, it didn't feel like, we were about to divorce, but it just felt like, this is it. I mean, this isn't exciting. This isn't happy. This isn't what you see on IG. You know, like this is not.
That is trash, bro.
This is not the marriage that I. It's like I said, it's not marriage in the way I need it to marriage. And I'm thankful now because if we hadn't had that transition, then we wouldn't have realized that horrible cycle we had put ourselves in. We wouldn't have identified, you know, things that can.
Thank you.
I just want to say that was not Lorian or I. That came out of the bottom of this man down here. We wouldn't have realized areas that we need to grow in because those things are going to help you as an individual outside of our marriage. They're going to help me outside of our marriage as well as in our marriage.
Yep. And that's where I think we'll put a pin in it. Because, man, the biggest thing, man, with transition, you know, when we think about it, it's just moving on. You know, transition is that middle part of a previous season to a current season. And so, man, we're really good at identifying what used to be or what was, and rarely do we really identify the transition as it's happening. And we get lost in translation. You know, we get lost and you know, when we are in a position to identify our transitions, man, we would be better prepared moving on into the next seasons. Because, you know, these things, they gradually happen. I mean, they gradually happen. But I'm thankful that, you know, and Jazz already said it, but I'm thankful that I got to learn something new about me. And I got to see that what I actually do good can be toxic. It can be negative when illegitimately used, or whenever it's not used with boundaries, whenever it's used without, you know, godly wisdom in it. And so I'm just thankful. Now I ain't saying I done went cold turkey and I'm just like I ain't helping Jazz do nothing. I ain't stepping up to do. She got to figure everything out. But, you know, through reasoning and looking at situations and really allowing her the opportunity to filter through things, you know, God allows me and shows me when is a good time to step in and when's a good time to be like, nah. And that also has shown up. Hey, Bubba. But it has also shown up in, you know, just my regular everyday relationships with family and friends, you know, and so on and so forth. So yeah, man, you got anything? You good?
No.
You good?
I'm good.
Kairos, you got anything? No. Maybe next episode? Okay. Man, well, we thank y'all, man, for hanging out with us with the Left Hand Gang podcast, man. We're going to keep this stuff going. We love it. We love y'all. Y'all tap in with us. Follow us, everything. lefthandgang.co. Yeah, that's it. So, you good?
Yeah. Thanks for rocking with us, y'all.
Y'all be easy. See y'all later. Peace. Thank y'all so much for tapping in with the Left Hand Gang podcast.
Be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and rate us.
And lastly, please don't forget to check out our website. That's lefthandgang.co for merch and ways to stay connected.
Catch you next episode.
Gang.